come with me. Let's go to the park where somebody dropped a severed head right there in the middle of the park where everybody can see it. So this is real, and you have to write about the stories, and you have to motivate people on both sides of the border to do something about this.
And you're not afraid that you're going to get popped?
I want to know whether Mexico will have the ability for Mexico to rein in the cartels.
Hello, everyone. Interesting people with interesting stories. Everybody has a story, and we want to share one more with you all today. We have Julian Resendez here with us, and he sits right next to me at KTSM. And we have a lot of different conversations, but we are here to learn a little bit more of what he does and who Julian Resendez is. So thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us today and learn a little bit more about yourself. You are a border correspondent. So I know that you do some stories for KTSM, but you work primarily for borderreport.com. Explain that dynamic there for me, please.
Absolutely, Stella. About 5 years ago, I was called out of retirement by an old friend who knows my passion for journalism and how I've been able to do border stories on either side of the border for many years. So he called me out of retirement, and there was this project that Nextra Media Group, which is a conglomerate that owns close to 200 television stations, was putting together. It involves having people, special people in El Paso, in San Diego, and in McAllen, and together covering everything that goes on at the border, and especially the impact of policies in Washington and in Mexico City, and how they impact those of us who live here, and what the impact is for the people in the interior of the United States, all those viewers in those 200 television stations.
So you've been doing this job, you've been a journalist for many, many years. Talk about the changes, and you've always covered the border. In those 35 years or plus that you've been a journalist, what have you seen? Tell me a lot of little stories of what you've seen.
Right. First of all, let me just preface that. Let me tell you that I'm a YouTube graduate. I graduated from the University of Texas at El Paso. It took me 5, 6 years to do it, but that's
Better than 25. It took me 25.
that's another story. I chose journalism out of frankly, out of anger. Anger that I felt growing up in the community, anger at the poverty, the what I considered to be a social injustice at the time against immigrant families like my own, and also populations. I mean, I lived in El Paso at a time when the city council, there was only one Hispanic in the city council. So that kind of motivated me to go into journalism and tell the stories and find the injustices and write about those injustices. I started my career at the El Paso Herald-Post, which closed way back in the 90s, but that was my start. I've also worked with the Associated Press. And when the El Paso Herald-Post closed, something really meaningful happened, and that is it forced me to leave El Paso because there were no available jobs. And at the time, I was not unique in this. I know that there's a lot of people in El Paso that they're very talented, they become educated, but they stay in the community, which is great, but they also miss opportunities to go somewhere else. When the newspaper closed, I was forced to go somewhere else, and it opened up a whole world for me. I haven't always reported on the border. I did that for about the 8 to 10 years that I was a reporter. I've been a newspaper editor primarily for the most part of my career. I've been an editor in Brownsville, and I've also worked for the Dallas Morning News. I spent about 12, 13 years over there. And I decided to come back to the border to pretty much to rejoin my family. And now, going back to your question, now that you know who I am.
Well, wait a minute. Before we dive into that, that anger, can anger be a part of that passion that drives you to do these kinds of stories?
I think absolutely. I think I was able to channel that sense of injustice that I felt growing up into something constructive, which is in a very disciplined way, in a very professional way, get to the bottom of things, tell the story to the community, engage the community. And it goes back to your question. Back in the day when I was young, we used to do that in newspapers. Nowadays, it's become, I would say, easier to do so through electronic media.
I'm going to stop you there because it's easier, but now it is more volatile and maybe sometimes very in an attack. They attack you because of the anonymity. Before, people would have to put names behind their comments, but now, because of social media and because of electronic media, people can attack you and not put a name to that. Do you think that happens? Have you seen that happen?
I think that's been happening ever since electronic media started to flourish. But I think we have an advantage as professional communicators that we can gain the people's trust. And this is true regardless of media, whether you're a print reporter at the El Paso Times or a radio correspondent at NPR or a border correspondent in an electronic digital site like we are. If you develop credibility, if the quality of the work, if the research is all there, I think people will follow you regardless. And I think people will go to you instead of believing what's out there anonymously or through alternate sources.
Gaining trust over 35 years. It's been a journey for you. And how have you gained the trust of the people that you interview, who share those stories, and the people who read what you do and see what you do? How have you accomplished that?
Well, it's all hard work. I mean, there's a saying in our profession that a journalist is only as good as his last story. You have to prove yourself over and over every day. You have to gain the trust of everyone that you meet anew, and you have to retain the trust of the sources that you have developed. And sometimes it's difficult because sources have their own set of guidelines. I don't want to say agenda.
Agenda. You can say agenda.
Right?
You can say agenda.
Sources have agendas, and you have to learn to work professionally and follow the rules. And you can still get the story told by following the rules. And you do this by relying not just on one source, but getting a full picture.
Balance, right?
I think it goes beyond balance. You strive for balance, obviously. There's one side telling a story. You try to get the other side telling a story. But your job really is not to balance. It's really to tell the truth, to get to the truth as best as you can. And that's why your name goes on the byline. I mean, that's you're putting yourself out there every time, and you have to be prepared to do it. And you might be a star in your profession, but you're only as good as your next story, and everybody's going to be dissecting and watching that story.
Hold on to the next question, the first question that I asked you when we just started. We're going to take a little break, and then we'll be right back.
Hurry in. Just buy one, get one free.
One of the funniest men in America.
Interesting story in here.
Hey, we got our tax refund. Check it out. Come on, let's go to Viva. Let's go. Let's go.
Because Viva makes it happen.
Oh, welcome back. We're talking to Julian Resendez. He is a border correspondent, and he's sharing a lot of insightful information that we tend to forget. The challenges of the journalist these days, you know, because everybody has a phone, everybody can take video, everybody can tell you what's going on. Do you see that as a challenge to your profession as a journalist when you have people reporting out there?
Not at all, Estela. On the contrary, I see it as a chance to vindicate the profession. This is what people on the street do and say. This is the truth, the facts that we've been able to gather, and this is the context that we can give you as best as we can. And I think that makes us more valuable than ever before. I don't mind that there's 100 people out there recording the same things that I am, because I'm going to get to the who, and the why, which is very, very important.
Tell me share some of the stories that you've shared with me as we talk next. Our cubicles are right next to each other, and you've seen a lot. You have witnessed a lot of good and bad. Can you share maybe a story when you felt threatened for your life?
There's been many times, as you know, at Border Report we cover three primary topics: immigration, international trade, which is very important in this area, and the other is crime, border crime, which has to do with the cartels. I'd rather not talk about that.
Okay, that's pretty scary, isn't it?
I'll share this with you. 25, 30 years ago when I started, and I was very young, and I had a young wife, small kids, it was very scary. It was very scary because I knew that I needed them, they needed me, and I couldn't afford to get executed in Juarez somewhere. Right. So I did the best that I could under the circumstances. It was very scary. Now I don't care. I can tell the stories that I need to tell.
And you're not afraid that you're going to get popped?
No, not anymore. Not at all.
Your life matters. You still have the wife, you still have the children. Why do you say it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter because I know what I'm doing. I know how far I can go. This is kind of a trade secret, but I'm not alone in this. We talk about contacts, we talk about sources, we talk about keeping good relations with those sources. So whenever there's a threat, I get notified and I take my precautions. And like I said, I really don't want to talk about it, but it has happened before recently, but it's been managed.
It's been managed, okay. Tell me a good story.
Oh, wow.
There's many, I imagine. I remember you sharing at Christmas time on how los bomberos, how the firefighters in Juarez go get a bunch of toys and give them to their children. And that's probably just a little bit of the good thing.
Right. Right. Actually, you bring out a good point. In our profession, especially here on the border, we often tell the negative stories because that's news. That's what people want to hear. Sadly, and this is true across the board, I think for every station, newspaper, website, when you write positive stories, even if you put your heart into it, they're not really read a lot. And now we have metrics. Now we know what's read and what is not read, what's liked, what is not liked. And unfortunately, positive stories don't get that many hits. No, there's plenty out there. There's definitely plenty out there. Just recently, myself and a peer went down to Juarez to do a story on this beautiful tradition that started several decades ago in Juarez. Firefighters gathering toys for the poor children and around Christmas time and delivering them right before Christmas. And it all started with a little kid in Juarez going to a fire station and asking for pretty much for something for Christmas. And the chief of the fire department back then, he said, well, there's probably a lot of people like this kid. Let's do something for them. And it evolved into this annual tradition that's one of the best things that I've seen in Juarez year after year.
So you're a professional journalist. I see how you write, and I see what you're listening to the sound bites and putting your story together. Does something positive like that help balance the things that weigh heavy in your heart when you have to do a story of a missing body or bad things? Does that help balance that? Do you feel good when you drive home?
So I feel good when I drive home. Let's not answer that question, but I can tell you this. And what motivates me to write the stories that I'm currently writing, including the cartel stories, is that a lot of people in this community say, well, we're sister cities, we're the same community, the border is just a political division. Well, when you put that to the test, you have to put your action into the words, and that's what I'm doing. I care deeply about the people of Juarez. I used to have extended family down there. I know that this crime situation is weighing very heavily on their families, and I've tried to illustrate it. I've gone to Juarez after getting shooed out by business types and who tell me, oh, you're making our city look bad. Well, okay, come with me. Let's go to that park where somebody dropped a severed head right there in the middle of the park where everybody can see it. Let's go to that school where I spoke to parents, and the parents have to tell their kids not to watch TV after somebody put a body at the entrance of their school. So this is real, and you have to read about the stories, and you have to motivate people on both sides of the border to do something about this. If you really care about our community, if it's true, and not just propaganda that we're one community, let's do it. I am.
You're working hard.
I'm trying to address the problems, yes.
We're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back and speak a little more with Julian Resendez. Stay with us.
Impresiones, dele el toque, pase.
Buen mediodía para ti, Nacho, y para todos.
Vieja, ya no llegaron los taxis. Mira, vámonos arriba. Vámonos.
Viva makes it happen.
Welcome back. We are talking to Julian Resendez. He is an interesting person with an interesting story. The whole topic of conversation for this podcast is interesting people with interesting stories. And as if you've been listening, Julian has quite a background and a story to tell. Julian, what is next for you?
I really haven't thought about that. I know that I want to keep doing what I'm doing for now because there's a lot of issues still pending out there. I want to know how the story ends. I think that's natural in everybody to get into something with a beginning and have it come to a conclusion before you walk away. So I want to know how this immigration situation will be resolved. I want to know whether Mexico will have the ability, and it's going to be take a titanic effort for Mexico to rein in the cartels, and whether America is going to rein in its rampant consumption of drugs. I know that I did my part with my kids, being very strict with them as far as the topic of drugs and all that. I think that's part of the equation. I'm not judging. It's everybody. It's up to everybody to see how they contributed to this. But to solve the drug trafficking and the drug issue and the fentanyl overdose issue, and now the methamphetamine overdose issue and the heroin overdose issues, we need to get involved as parents, as community members, as church members. We need to voice our concern and express our concern to the young ones. I think that's something that needs to happen. As far as what my plans are, I think I've had a long career, not just in journalism, but professionally overall. One of the reasons I came back to El Paso, because I spent upwards of 17 years away from El Paso, is to rebuild some bridges, especially with those close to me. I think that's going to be my overarching purpose in life from now on.
Is to mend those bridges and maybe get,
This profession is very intense, and it makes you be a very intense person, and obviously that takes a personal toll, and I'm ready for the next step.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with one last question for Julian Resendez. Interesting stories, interesting people with interesting stories. Stay with us.
For the cowgirl who wants that upgrade. For the city slicker who likes the bells and whistles. For the mom who needs a third row. And the biker chick who likes to feel the wind in her hair. Viva Auto Group has what every woman wants, because Viva makes it happen.
Welcome back, everybody. We're talking to Julian Resendez. He is an interesting person with many interesting stories as a journalist, a border journalist, a border correspondent with borderreport.com and with KTSM and with Nexstar. We already explained the dynamics of his job and what he's been doing at KTSM. So if you had to, you want to mend fences at home, you want to bring closure to a lot of the stories that you've been covering, but tell me something that you think, gosh, this is what I'd like to do. I wrote a book. I never set out to write a book. It just happened. So is there something like that you feel you can do? Do you want to learn how to dance tango? Do you want to be able to sing and get on the stage and be another Vicente Fernandez? What is in that heart of yours that maybe you haven't explored?
Right. When I was 17 years old, I started writing a lot of science fiction short stories. And let me give you a brief background of how that happened. When I was going to school, El Paso and the whole region had somewhat of a gang and drug problem. So often when I felt either afraid or harassed at school, I would run into the school library and I would read books. And I must have read at least 200 or 300 books, and many of those books were fiction, escapism. I used to love science fiction books, and I started, dabbling since I was a teenager in writing science fiction stories. Of course, life happened. I never was able to finish those stories. So one of my not goals but fantasies, and it would be to finish those stories in retirement.
In retirement?
Okay.
So you're going to write a book?
I'm going to write several silly science fiction novels, yes.
Okay, well there it is. There it is. Anything you'd like to add, Julian? We've had a pretty deep conversation about your career, about your life. Anything you'd like to add?
Yes, definitely. I was born and raised in a humble environment, and I want to tell people that it's possible through hard work, determination, and anger. Anger used positively to get ahead in life, not just achieve like the middle class dream, but go to the top of your profession. It's possible. You can start as humble, be of humble origins, and still get there. It can be done. Don't give up on it.
And you have. I also grew up with very humble beginnings. My parents only had a 6th grade education. My 2 brothers, much older than me, 12 and 14 years older than me. One of them went to West Point. The other one also got his degree my brother got a degree in physics, and the other one got his degree in engineering. And so a lot was expected of me. And but they were good examples. And we're here to tell the story and to make something of ourselves, and that you shouldn't let humble beginnings or any of those things stop you to becoming what you want to become in life.
Right, and in fact, those things can be an asset. I mean,
they give you that drive, right?
They give you the drive, exactly, the anger I was talking about. So definitely, there's a way. There's a way out. Not only a way out, but a way up.
Not only a way up, but a way out.
Is that what you just said?
Not only a way out.
Not only a way out,
but a way up. Right.
That is beautiful. Julian, thank you so much for stopping by.
My pleasure.
And once again, I hope you all enjoyed our conversation and have some takeaways from Julian and this conversation about journalism on the border. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay with us for interesting people with interesting stories, because everybody has one. Have a great day.
For the cowgirl who wants that upgrade. For the city slicker who likes the bells and whistles. For the mom who needs a 3rd row. And the biker chick who likes to feel the wind in her hair. Viva Auto Group has what every woman wants, because Viva makes it happen.